So Donald Trump's pathetic and just absolutely petulant attempt to force the entire country to attend his birthday party, it failed. It failed. Oh my God. Yo, this fat was sitting there just pretending like he can't see the empty ass. You see the crowd, we see the crowd. It's empty. Don't try to like dim your little eyes and I can't see the crowd. Can you see the crowd? No, we can't see the crowd actually because it's not there. This was a pathetic attempt to glorify himself that failed. It was so bad, special forces troops that were marching were like sitting there like, man, we ain't even gonna march properly. We ain't even doing this. It's bad. I'm gonna show y'all back-to-back clips of this absolute disaster of a celebration of the Army's 250th birthday. Nothing to do with Donald Trump. Totally not definitely a coincidence. Totally a coincidence that Donald Trump's birthday and the Army's birthday are on the same day. And for the first time ever, we're having a completely ridiculous parade to celebrate the Army's birthday. Totally not, there's nothing to worry about, nothing to be concerned about. Just an innocent coincidence. Please. But mind you, this is the same parade that Donald Trump's inner circle, his cabinet, sat there and said was not happening. Remember when the first reports about this came out? Do you remember when the first reports about this came out? Donald Trump's inner circle swore to God they didn't know what the fuck anybody was saying. They're lying about the celebration. What party? Party next door? What party are you talking about? He sat there and what party? What party? The libs. They're making it up. The libs. The dirty libs. The niggas swore to God they didn't know what the anybody was talking about. The Army was like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a parade on that day. Yeah, the administration, the executive branch, the chief exec, oh, they're lying. The Army is lying. Absolutely ridiculous. And here's the first clip to showcase how much of a disaster this was. I would play the audio, but to even further showcase the silliness of this, someone is singing Lizzo. Someone is doing karaoke of Lizzo. You not in this clip. Someone is singing. I don't even think it's actually. I think it's somebody else trying to sound like Lizzo, or maybe they're playing Lizzo. Donald, you know better than to play music outside of YMCA. You know full and well they're gonna sue your motherfucking ass. You know better than to do that. I don't know why they were playing Lizzo. It sounded like somebody was singing Lizzo, but look at just nobody's there. No one's there. Nobody wants to be there, and for good reason, because grown-ass adults who actually give a shit about America's future were busy at the No Kings rallies, the No Kings protests, not at this fucking dump. Look at this. Who wants to be here to celebrate a fat orange orangutan who can't lead his country properly? No, thank you. Better shit to do, better stuff to do. You know what I'm saying? Like why would not even MAGA came to this shit? MAGA was like, we good on that. MAGA didn't even show up. Unless it has to do with like destroying the country, MAGA has no interest in being there. This is one of the most chill things Trump has done. And even still, this is low-key destructive to America because now we're really descending into into the realm of becoming a third world country. It gets even worse. Empty bleachers. Empty bleachers. Empty bleachers. The Donald Trump birthday party has empty bleachers. People don't want to be at this shit. People don't want to be at this stuff. You do realize, like, most people don't want to go to stuff like that. It's not that big of a spectacle. It's just not that big. It's not that big of a spectacle. It's not that interesting. It's just like, you know what I mean? Like, are we going to pretend like this is like a once in a lifetime? Oh my God, got to go to the parade. Number one, this shit was trash. Number two, even if it wasn't trash, I'm not going to this shit. If it were up to Trump, he would make us attend this shit. Deadass. Donald Trump would make us eat MRE, sit crisscross applesauce, back curtain and all of that, and watch his birthday party as he does his little Epstein dance. And we're all forced to sit there and watch this ridiculous parade. His birthday party, basically. Here we have an aerial angle of Donald Trump's ridiculous event. You know? This is the ridiculousness of this. Look at how much money do you think it costs to set all of that up? Presidential seal, U.S. Army, all of that, so him and his fucking, his oligarchical allies could sit down as the dirty, nasty plebeians gather around to watch Donald Trump's personal army march for his birthday. That's really what this is. Donald Trump, I don't know why he did this. He had the Army Rangers and the Green Berets in this ridiculous parade. Can't make this nonsense up. Yo, Marco Rubio, bro, this nigga, bro, Marco Rubio gotta be the fakest nigga alive. He knows all of this is ridiculous, and he continues to sell what's left of his soul. I'd say his soul, but he didn't really have much left before this administration, this regime. Look at him sitting there yawning. He doesn't want to be there. Nobody wants to be there. The Rangers don't want to be there. They could have other shit to do. This is like wasn't this like on Father's Day? Bro, these people could be with their families, and instead they're sitting here marching for this fat fuck. A guy who dodged a draft, who said, I prefer people who weren't captured. By the way, you're like a veteran who like loves Trump. Bro, really? A nigga who said, I prefer people who weren't captured? You know full and fucking well, if Joe Biden gathered every remaining inch of strength left in his body to say some shit like that, you niggas would lose your fucking minds. So don't even play with me. So here we have the Rangers, the Army Rangers from Ranger Battalion. You can see the tabs, you can see the tan berets. They're sitting there marching, and they're not marching the way that they can. They can march better than this. These people run in formation and run in cadence. Look at this dude in the back, at the very back. You know what I'm saying? He's not in cadence. He's not marching according to the proper step. I forget the terminology to use here. I haven't fucking marched in formation since I was in basic and broke my fucking ankle. Here we got the Green Berets in the back, if I recall correctly. And the way that, if you could even call it marching, I mean, these dudes do not want to fucking be there, okay? Look at this shit. They're not in lockstep. They're not in lockstep. This is ridiculous, bro. They don't want to do this. They don't want to do any of this. They do not want to. These are particular units who really should not even be involved in this. Green Berets got other shit to do, like train foreign militaries and like kill shit and blow shit up and do cool like high speed shit. Rangers, like, bro, don't they have like doors to burst down? Like, these niggas be doing anything else but this. Trump couldn't care less about how this stuff is perceived within military culture. He doesn't care. Again, this was a guy who sat there and said, I gave John McCain the funeral he wanted. I didn't get a thank you for that. As if you are like the arbiter of that. You're the executive, you're the chief executive, the commander in chief, but you're not King Trump. You're the president. You will abide by and respect these customs and traditions and these expectations. It was his service, not your service. It was his service. You can't deny this nigga his funeral. A senator, a U.S. Navy sailor who was tortured in the Vietnam War. How you going? This is the kind of guy who gets insane support from the troops, from veterans. A dude who, by the way, news, this guy's currently instructing the VA to cut support for Democrats, people who vote blue. So that's coming up next. The fact that the military supports Donald Trump is beyond my comprehension, beyond my understanding. It's like, come the fuck on. How many times do conservatives have to put a knife in the back of veterans and active duty troops before these guys realize there's like multiple knives in their back? Okay, the first one, cool, you want to ignore that one. The second one, all right, my nigga, you bleeding. Third one, you bleeding out. Fourth one, bro, you're about to die. They don't listen. They don't care. They don't care. They do not care. And if you point any of this out, what's the natural conservative reaction? You're condescending. You think we're stupid? You're obviously stupid. Don't play with me. Conservatives sat there and made fun of everybody the fuck else for being uninformed about this or wrong about that, debating college kids and calling them dumb and all of this and third. And now when it's time for you to be laughed at, now all of a sudden it's too far. Nigga, don't play with me. So the Green Berets sitting there, they don't want to do this shit. This is beneath their fucking pay grade, bro. This is beneath their accomplishment. This is beneath what they've achieved. This is embarrassing, bro. You got Rangers and Green Berets marching like common fucking trash. Those militaries in North Korea and China and Russia, bro, those are bum militaries. Russia can't even beat Ukraine. Ukraine is using our intel, our weaponry, our everything, and they're literally putting up one of the most significant fights we've ever seen ever, defying all international expectations. And you want these troops who are leaps and bounds beyond any other military in the world to be relegated to bullshit like this? There's a reason why we don't do stuff like that. Because it's beneath us. It resembles, number one, the shithole countries that conservatives claim to hate so much. It resembles that, number one. Number two, oftentimes these nations do shit like this because their militaries are not actually functional or capable at all. This is their way of signaling to their populace, we're strong, we're powerful. Look at these people marching. This don't mean shit on the battlefield, by the way, at all. At all. We're showcasing with this. Bro, these are some of the most elite, if not the most elite military units to ever exist in human history. They don't seem to be marching in lockstep. This ain't no North Korean. I ain't gonna lie, the North Koreans are better at this shit than we are. I'm gonna keep it a stat. But you know who I would rather have right next to me on the battlefield? One of these. I would rather have one of them than a Russian, a North Korean, a Chinese soldier. I'd much rather an American. Not just from a standpoint of me being American, but also from the standpoint of they're just better soldiers. That's why we don't do stuff like this. Because we have an actually functional, our military is actually capable. We can invade a country on the other side of the planet and be able to supply our troops, feed them, fuel our vehicles, arm our soldiers, keep them fed and clothed and armed and prepared from the other side of the fucking planet. Russia couldn't even do that, and Ukraine is down the street, relatively speaking. They had vehicles lined up for miles with no fuel, just sitting there stalling. Because they had no fuel. They're just sitting there. And Ukraine is right there. Why? Bum-ass military. Conservatives don't want to hear that, though. Conservatives actually, if they're not actually coming on being like, I'm not going to lie, this shit was trash. I think Nick Fuentes said this was trash. If they're not honest and bold enough to be like, I ain't going to lie, this shit was garbage, they're just ignoring it. If they're not willing to come out and be like, I ain't even gonna cap to you, my boy, this shit was trash, they're just ignoring it. That's the reality of it. If they can't just come out and acknowledge it was garbage, they're just gonna pretend like it's not even real. Unfortunately. Here we have an incredibly hilarious meme on TikTok where somebody said this was the parade Trump thought he was about to get and the parade he actually got. We have the North Koreans popping their shit. Okay, you know what I'm saying? They just munched on rat, cockroach, all of that, but these niggas ain't getting fed shit. That's the reality of it. Courtesy of Kim Jong-un. And now look at us. I would much rather be in that military. I'm gonna keep it 100. We might not look as fly, but damn. You know what I'm saying? Like, but the reality is this is what Trump got. This is what Trump got. You want to know the reality, bro? They're marching like this on fucking purpose, bro. They're marching like this on... You think they haven't rehearsed this stuff? You think they haven't rehearsed this? You think they haven't rehearsed this? It's been like a month and a half since we got news about this fucking ridiculous event. It's been a while since we've known about this coming up. They've had time to rehearse this. They didn't have that many units walking. They're marching like this on purpose, bro. On purpose. That's the reality of it. They're marching like this on purpose. Anybody who's ever actually seen Army soldiers or Marines marching in cadence and marching in lockstep, like, bro, this is not that. These guys are purposefully making sure that they're not like in proper formation, bro. Like, that's the reality of it. Nobody wants to be a part of this crap. The army doesn't do stuff like this, and it was all for Trump's fucking birthday. That's the reality of it. That's the truth of it. After he deployed U.S. Marines to terrorize protesters in L.A. The reality is that MAGA swears to God that they hate shithole countries and people who come from them, but right now, MAGA is speedrunning the United States of America into becoming a shithole country, and they don't care. Because dysfunction, dishonesty, chaos, dilapidation, all of these things are invisible to MAGA as long as the person perpetuating it and professing it has white skin, blonde hair, and blue eyes. Seriously. You know, I used to kind of like scratch my head and be like, I don't know, whenever, older black folks used to always say, Rashad, when you black, you got to work 10 times as hard. You got to be 10 times better than everybody else around you. I used to be like, I don't know, maybe, well, hopefully that's not true. Hopefully I can, coast and just vibe out and I'll be all right. Then I see what Trump is able to get away with and what Obama could never get away with. And I begin to realize, oh, wait, actually, yeah. They were fucking right. They were right the whole time. Bro, nobody, Biden couldn't get away with this because they treat Biden like he's fucking black. Obama could never, ever even, if Obama thought about doing some shit like this, Obama thought about doing a third world parade. That's the truth of it all. That's how they think, bro. They don't actually judge these things based upon whether it's good or bad, right or wrong. It's about who's doing it and who's not. That's the reason why a drunk who communicates classified intel concerning military operations that if leaked could kill Americans on signal, that's why a dude who does that is still the fucking Secretary of Defense. It's not about getting rid of DEI and bringing back qualified leaders. America used to have racist qualified leaders. We used to have secretaries of defense that were racist, but they were good at their job. You knew even if he didn't like you, he was going, you know what I'm saying? He was good at his job. Pete Hegseth is racist and he's a bum. You can't have both. Trump, you gotta pick one. But see, Trump entertains Pete Hegseth's bum behavior because these are all favors he's doing for Pete. Oh, leak that information on Signal? I'll let you keep your job, but don't forget what I just did for you. So when Donald Trump decides some criminal shit, guess what Pete Hegseth has to do? Do Donald Trump a favor. He got to do him a solid. I just kept your job after you compromised the safety of American troops as they were in combat. These operations done against the Houthis could have been leaked. What if that guy who was in that Signal group chat was like a radical pro-Palestine person who said, you know what, I don't give a fuck who, I don't care about American troops. I'll endanger them for the sake of the pro-Palestine movement and for the Houthis. And they decide to go send out the information to someone who they think is a Houthi, and they get an American killed. Bro, MAGA does not care about how easily that could have gone wrong. Jeffrey Goldberg or whatever is like, could have been a crazy person who went crazy. Thankfully, he just posted about it on the internet. He could have easily been a crazy person who was like, you know, I'm going to save the world, and got one of us killed. But no, you guys aren't interested in actual, competency and qualification. Henceforth, a crackhead heroin addict who swims in poop water is at the head of the Department of Health and Human Services. That's why Dr. fucking Oz, who's a fucking sham scam artist who sits there and says, it's your patriotic national duty to remain healthy. Basically saying, we're tired of spending money on you dirty, nasty, fucking disgusting plebs. We'd like to spend it on ourselves, so stop getting sick. That's crazy, but this is acceptable to MAGA. This is the kind of stuff you would expect in some kind of like satirical novel about America going haywire. But instead, it's reality. Because the reality is that dysfunction, chaos, cronyism, stoogism, corruption, all of these stuff that we would, oh, that's what Russians do, or that's what African countries do, or that's what Asian countries do, that's what Latin American countries do, that's what Eastern European countries do. Stuff that we thought would never happen here is happening now. But because the person propagating it, perpetuating it, professing it, and promoting it is white with blonde hair and blue eyes, MAGA doesn't care. They don't fucking care. These niggas don't actually have any real beliefs and concerns about American society and keeping us on track and stable. All they care about is culture, race. That's all they care about. They don't actually care about a functioning America. Because even if they were to get rid of all the minorities to fucking morrow, RFK is still on that bullshit. Fucking Pete Hegseth is still on bullshit. All of these niggas are still untrustworthy and insane. And then we have the fucking head of the FBI who doesn't want to talk about whether or not Donald Trump could be in the Epstein files. What, are you afraid of something? Kash Patel? He's another stooge. What kind of country are we where a reliable source like Elon Musk claims that Trump is in the Epstein files and the head of the FBI says, this is above my pay grade. Bitch, nigga, this is your pay grade. Investigate Trump. Fuck is you talking about? This is above your pay grade. He's saying the nigga's a molester. Will you get in there? You don't do nothing. That's the getting rid of DEI, bringing back qualified people, bringing back the experts. Get the fuck out of here. MAGA literally swears up and down that the experts don't know shit, but simultaneously complains about DEI. Which is it? Do you want experts or not? Or you want white experts who think like you? Because God forbid you get a white expert who's like, no, actually vaccines, they do work. God forbid you get an expert who's like, actually, no, Russia's not our friend. God forbid you get an expert who's like, actually, you shouldn't be leaking that kind of stuff on Signal. God forbid you have a white person who's like, I know what I'm doing here and I disagree with you guys. Now all of a sudden y'all treating them like they black. Bro, the way they treat Joe Biden, you would have thought Joe Biden was black. If you are a white liberal now, MAGA at this point don't give a fuck about none you say. Clearly, it's so obvious that no one can reach out to them. White people can't reason with them. Black people never were able to reason with conservative white America. These people are too far gone. Nigga throw a nasty-ass, bum-ass birthday party, and we're sitting here pretending like this shit is normal. Not even people who probably voted for this bum are doing, like, bro, you think there's Army Rangers and fucking Green Berets voted for fucking Kamala Harris? They probably didn't. They probably voted for Trump. And they realized what it was, but this nigga summons them up to be his fucking toys and props for his birthday party. Like, come the fuck on. Like, absolutely embarrassing, ridiculous, and nonsensical. We're becoming a third world country, and MAGA refuses to acknowledge it because the person ushering us into third worldism is white. Let's just keep it 100.